Hey there, it's Mike Goldstein again here with the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. And today we want to talk a little bit about healthy kitchens and green initiatives and some of the areas where you guys as home remodeling contractors are no doubt getting a lot of requests from people, especially after COVID, after all the issues with cleanliness and with keeping things environmentally friendly. I'm sure that you're getting a lot of people who want to know what can they do to make their kitchens and their homes more green. So here's the deal. Today, we have with us one of the foremost experts in the entire green space, Andy Pace from Green Design Center. And Andy and I are going to talk all about that in just a few moments. But first, before we get started, as always, don't forget, crushing it with kitchen remodeling.
Are you looking for some fresh ideas to jumpstart your kitchen remodeling business? Welcome to the Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling podcast. Your host, Michael Goldstein, founder of Kitchen Remodeling SEO, the digital marketing agency working exclusively with kitchen remodeling contractors. And also, the author of the ultimate internet marketing guide for kitchen remodeling contractors, will provide insights on proven tips and strategies from top experts in this space so that you can take advantage of industry best practices. Your host, Michael Goldstein. Join Mike as he shares his knowledge each week with an insightful interview or educational segment about how to turn your online marketing efforts into more kitchen remodeling leads and sales opportunities than ever before.
And we're back, and we're going to bring in with us today Andrew Pace. Andrew, how are you?
I am fantastic today, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, we are so excited to have you on the podcast. This is, we're going to be talking about something that's really trending right now. It's been something I think for quite a few years. It's been a big piece, a big push for green initiatives. But I think really since COVID and since people have really started to understand how important it is to make sure that their homes are healthy, it's really something that a lot of our listeners are running into, and they just don't know how to capitalize on it.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into all that, Eddie, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What do you do?
Sure. So I live in beautiful, balmy Wisconsin, southeastern Wisconsin, near Milwaukee. A little cooler by the lake this time of year. I've been here my life. I'm 50, almost 52 years old. About 30 years ago, give or take, I started a company selling what I called common sense, toxin-free building materials. And it's all because of a situation we had on a commercial project here in Milwaukee. We were supplying a water-based epoxy coating for a below-grade parking structure. And after the primer coat got applied, 3 of our workers got rushed to the hospital because of inhalation complications. They literally couldn't breathe because of the curing process of this epoxy. And it just got me thinking that, we are risking our company, we're risking harming our clients, our workers. There's got to be a better way to do this. And at that point, I delved into the world of sick building syndrome, environmental illness, chemical sensitivity, and I found that there was just an enormous segment of the population who suffered from these chemical sensitivities, either really bad or not mild. There's got to be a market with this community to be able to sell healthier building materials. Now, this is before the U.S. Green Building Council started their LEED program. This is before green became anything more than just a color, and now it's a way of life.
Yeah.
So again, back in the time, I was just marketing healthy, common sense building materials. I called my company Safe Building Solutions. And throughout the big push of green building, I changed the company name to Green Design Center. But what happened was in the industry, all manufacturers started promoting eco-friendly materials, eco-friendly solutions, solutions that are better for outdoor environments, more energy efficient, maybe low to zero VOC, which has nothing to do with human health, has to do with outdoor air pollution. But that entire time, we really focused on the human element of the project. And so while all manufacturers were going to green from a sustainable standpoint, some global environmental concept, we were focusing on human health concerns. And that's really our has been our mission and still is today.
That's really interesting because I know, we've worked with a lot of our clients are in the green industry. When I got started, I actually worked with a bunch of home cleaning companies, house cleaning companies that were all about being green. And it's funny because you get these companies who are coming in charging hundreds and hundreds of dollars a week, and they bring in all these chemicals into the house. And then I had a client who comes in with a bag of lemons, a gallon of vinegar, and he says, "Okay, let's do this. Let's do it right." And and people were, they were eating it up, and lo and behold, we learned, years later, this actually is the healthy way to go. Right. And I know there's a big difference between living green and living healthy. I mean, right. Can you kind of explain the difference in those two respects?
So the best way to explain it would probably give you an idea of what our customer base is like. And so on any given day in one of our showrooms, we'll get 3 types of customers walking in. The first customer walks in. This is what we focus on. The first customer says, "We're building a home. We've got a 7-year-old with autism. He can't be around any chemicals that are off-gassing, and otherwise it exacerbates his symptoms. So we want to build a home that's completely free of chemical outgassing or as low as possible." Second customer walks in and says, "I've been a burden to the earth for 55 years. I want to remodel a home using all recycled, repurposed, renewed materials." Third customer walks in and says, "I want to build a home with the lowest carbon footprint." Now, out of those 3, none of them are wrong and none of them are actually the right answer. So it's one of those things where we had to cater to all crowds of environmental and health concerns. We didn't want to lump everybody into one column the way the industry does. The industry says eco-friendly, meaning anything that's better for the outdoor environment, including energy efficiency and so forth. But we have clients that don't care about that as their first push. They care about the health of the human occupant.
Sure. And, one of the things I know with healthy living is sometimes manufacturers get a hold of, oh, people really want to be healthier. Let's just jack up those prices a little bit. Let's increase our profit margin. Have you found when you're looking at home remodeling that it becomes less profitable, or that the cost to remodel a healthy kitchen or even just a whole home is more so than kind of just doing it the standard way that we've been doing it for decades?
Well, and that's a very interesting question because it requires a little bit of conversation. And so if you compare apples to apples, quality level to quality level, building healthy is not going to cost you more than building with traditional methods and materials. But this is where that caveat is, comparing quality level to quality level. If you have a customer that's pricing everything out, going to big box stores and getting sales on everything, doesn't matter where it's made, doesn't matter how it's made, but just gets the job done. Yes, I think building healthy is going to cost you more, because when you build healthy, you're also building of a higher quality.
Right. And I think also when you're looking at people traditionally who are into the green initiative and the healthy initiative, I kind of look at it like the same way when people go to the grocery store. Pick whatever your local big box grocery store is, and you got, hundreds of thousands of people are going there, and then you got Whole Foods, and you got Trader Joe's, and you got tens of thousands of people going there. And the people who are going to the Whole Foods and the Trader Joe's, I think they don't mind spending a little extra money not because they think they're getting something, healthier, but I think they believe they're getting something of a higher quality. And It does become an issue, at least from what I've heard from our client base is, we want to cater to the luxury remodel market. Well, the luxury remodel market is not the market that cares about saving, 5 cents. It gets $1,500 cash back on this or that, but rather they want to have, the kitchen, they want to have the master bedroom that is the envy of people and that helps them live a more comfortable lifestyle. And quite frankly, staying healthy is more comfortable.
It is.
And the other aspect of that, I think, is that people who typically are looking for that green initiative they're not looking to get the cheapest possible quality, because if the fact is that that's the kind of stuff that you need chemicals, that you need all kinds of additives and things to preserve and to make your flimsy cardboard act like wood.
Mm-hmm. Back before the last recession of 2008 to 2012, people were buying green for the sake of buying green. As you say, people wanted to be able to say to their family and friends and their neighbors, yeah, I used this recycled glass and concrete countertop because it uses all recycled content. After the recession, and when money came back into remodeling, the same customers still existed, but it's almost as if they started to educate themselves a little bit more to say, all right, well, if I'm going to spend more on something that is eco-friendly, prove to me that there's actually a health benefit to it as well. And now multiply that because of the pandemic. I think the pandemic, for everything that was horrible about it, the one wonderful thing about it was it got people thinking about their building biology and what it's like to live and work and breathe in this space 24/7, and how it affects all aspects of life. And so we've seen more and more people coming to us saying, I don't have any chemical sensitivities, I don't have any health issues, but I don't want to have those either. So can you help me design a home that is healthy?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, I think just taking that analogy kind of to the next level is when we look at outdoor dining and how that has grown exponentially, just because people want to be in an environment where they feel safer, more secure, and there's no place that's more important to feel secure than in your own home. So I think that there's a real drive for that. But I also think coming back to who the audience of this show is, which is not the homeowner so much, but are the folks who are building those homes and who are remodeling and renovating those homes. One of the things I think that they would probably want to know is, well, what is the right chemical-free materials? If I'm gonna resurface a whole host of cabinets, what is that chemical-free paint that I should be getting? Are there buzzwords that are on the product that I should be looking for, and then I can use that in my marketing, say, we're using X-free, Y-free type of materials.
Sure. So that's a difficult question to answer in a short amount of time. But what I will say is the first thing you need to do as a custom remodeler is to listen to your clients. The ones that say, listen, I've got either health issues or sensitivities, or I just want to live in a healthier space. The worst thing that you can tell them is, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know what I'm doing. Those, as soon as you say that, you're turning off a huge segment of your customer base, because people don't want to hear that. Because to them that means you're not going to take any of my suggestions. You're not going to listen to what I have to say. So listen to what they're saying and then say, all right, let's try to work within this. Are there healthier finishes you can use for your cabinetry? Of course, there always will be. And let's take cabinetry as a major component. I look at, in a home, whether it's a new home or a remodeling project, 90% of the toxicity issues you're going to face from the building materials themselves will come from the things you see and touch on a daily basis. Flooring's number one, your wall finishes will be number two, cabinetry and woodwork is number three. It doesn't constitute a large amount of the home, but it's also very concentrated. Every day you're opening up those doors and drawers, and if that plywood is made with any type of urea formaldehyde, if the glues used contain urea formaldehyde, which they all do, and the finishes will off-gas formaldehyde as a byproduct, customers are going to get inundated with that on a daily basis. And this has actually caused, in many cases, people to be driven out of their homes. So looking for finishes that do have either a track record working with people with allergies, asthma, chemical sensitivities, looking for, you mentioned like buzzwords you can look for. The downside to looking for those buzzwords is it's usually the manufacturers that are touting those things in order to get you to buy them. So I look more so from recommendations from other professional companies who have had customers in the past that suffered from sensitivities, and they said, "Yeah, we were able to use the AFM Safe Coat Eco Lac product as our pigmented lacquer, and it worked wonderfully." And we actually have builders now across the country who are specialize in custom healthy homes, and that's all they use.
The funny thing is, as you were just saying that, I'm thinking, I mean, the alphabet soup type of stuff that we start hearing, all these complex terminologies. And I think that a lot of homeowners, their eyes start to glaze over. And they
Yes.
say, "Oh, that's great. Just, I want my home done healthy. I want it to be, I want building with sustainable materials. We're all about environmentally friendly in this house." So as somebody who is doing some of these projects, and you're selling these projects for your people to do as well, what are some of the ways really that you have been able to convey the message and to get people to be interested in green initiatives who maybe they were kind of on the fringe and they're saying, well, it would be nice, but do I really need it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that the biggest issue that we face in that regard is the fact that we've got a lot of situations where we'll have couples coming in, and one of them is dead set on making sure that it's the healthiest kitchen possible. The other one could care less.
Sure.
The other one wants to make sure the budget is maintained, right?
Yeah.
And so, listen, I part of this is being a marriage counselor sometimes, and this. I mean, working with homeowners, you have to juggle those personalities, but honestly, it comes down to finding that common ground, which is neither one of them wants to have the other have reactions, be unhealthy. When you start to talk about it in layman's terms, that we spend 90% of our lives indoors, and that was before the pandemic.
Sure.
Typically, paints and coatings that are used either on walls or on cabinetry will off gas anywhere from 2.5 to 4.5 years after it reaches a full cure. So that means for the first 4 years, probably you're going to get hit with this chemical emission coming from the cabinetry. So what's more important? Utilizing what the team says has worked and we just always want to use it, or maybe getting them to look at something that doesn't really cost anymore, but it'll cost them some time in learning, because once that is perfected, customers are going to be far happier, and they're not going to have to worry about any of the chemical emissions coming from the finish or from what's underneath. And here's the other thing too. It's peace of mind is incredibly valuable. And so when you talk about, customers who are trying to just do the right thing and be as green and healthy as possible, a lot of times all they're trying to do is just check that off the list inside of their heads to say, I don't have to worry about that. Because if you don't check it off the list and you get too far along the project, if you continue to worry about these things that you haven't really looked at and haven't addressed, it's always going to eat at you. And so I'm working with a client right now where they sent me a checklist of all the materials they want to do in their home, all the materials they want to use. And honestly, I'm okaying probably 95% of the things that they are recommending they want or saying they want to use. And to them, that's peace of mind. That is worth my involvement in the project.
So, when you're talking about people who are making all these suggestions to you, I think that kind of opens up a whole other avenue, which is there's so much information and misinformation on the internet about building, and certainly about green building. What are some of the biggest myths that you hear from homeowners that you just got to shake your head at and say, no.
All right. Biggest myth, without a doubt, is when a client calls and says, I've been doing research. That means I've been on Google. And that means that I've seen 20 or 30 posts that are probably either written by a manufacturer or sponsored by a manufacturer to verify what they already thought they knew. And that's what they're doing. They already go into it saying, I really want to use this product. They go online, they look for information about that product. They find that the manufacturers are basically allowing them or giving them somewhat permission to say it's okay. Then they come to me and say, well, everything I've read, all my research says this is okay.
Yeah.
And so that is the biggest myth, because all they're doing is just regurgitating manufacturers' information, which is almost always slanted just to sell their product.
Sure. Well, and I think going the other direction of that too is everyone who's on a Facebook group or everybody
Oh my gosh,
who's on some social media. And, listen, I'm in the business of Facebook advertising. I'm in the business of SEO and marketing companies. But I can tell you, you don't listen to what you see, because the only people who post in Facebook groups are people who either they're trying to convince you of something that is beyond untrue,
right?
Or they have a real agenda.
Or they're trying to convince themselves that they did the right thing, and they're looking for affirmation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a real issue. And when a homeowner comes to you and says, well, listen, I know this is what we need to do. I've been, as you say, I'm an interior designer. I've been in the industry, so I know this is what you need to do. Well, that's great. And if that's what you want, that's okay. But that might not actually achieve your end goal. So, at what point, I think, do you say to somebody, well, listen, we can do it. This is my advice, but what do you want to do? I mean, it's your home. You're the one who has to live here. You're the one who's paying us. So you tell me what you want.
Sure. Well, when I get hired as a consultant on a project, it's my goal to not reaffirm what they think they already know, but my goal is to actually challenge the clients to make sure they understand what they're getting. I've been known for selling against something that I normally provide because it's not the right material for the project, and I'd rather pass the sale to somebody else. I don't want to take the order if it's not the right material for the job, because I don't want them to ever come back to me and say, why didn't you tell me this? Why didn't you say that this was going to be a problem? And so, for me, it's again, peace of mind. But when you say that, when you get these on these Facebook groups, you have these people saying, I'm an interior designer. I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm a painting contractor. I've been doing this for 30 years. My response normally is, well, I've been golfing for 30 years and I'm still horrible. Just because you do something doesn't mean you're a professional at it. Just because you have a business card that says you're something, it doesn't mean you know everything about everything. So I'm always learning myself. Every single client I have, I'm learning from, so I can help the next person better.
Yeah, that's for sure. So let me ask you: you have been doing this for a while.
I have.
You've been on a lot of projects. You've spearheaded a lot of initiatives. Tell me about what was your favorite project that you've been on and why.
Oh boy, favorite project.
We always ask this to everyone.
I've worked with over 30,000 clients in my career, but one of them recently, it's probably one of my favorite because of how much exposure it got, and in a very interesting way.
And I hope you mean exposure and not chemical exposure.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so 80% of my customer base is female.
Okay.
Because
pretty standard. Actually,
but think about it, from a standpoint of health and so forth, and making decisions about materials and colors and so forth. On the other hand, studies show that more men actually suffer from chemical sensitivities than women do, but men just ignore it. And so this is why I love this project. About a year and a half ago, I started working with a gentleman out in California. His name is Mike Bender, and Mike is he's been in the Hollywood business for. I mean, he's been a screenwriter. He's written books. He suffers from. He actually developed Lyme disease when he was a child, when he was about 7 years old, and since then it's just been miserable for him. He reacts to so many things. He is exactly what we would call a universal reactor. Everything can bother him because of mast cell activation syndrome and all these other things that he has. So Mike got me involved in a project about a year and a half ago to help remodel his house in Santa Barbara. And this is the very first time then that a man not only had me help remodel the home, but he actually wrote an article about it. It appeared in Men's Health magazine this past March.
That's fantastic.
And he wrote an article about how he's been suffering with chemical sensitivity all these years. And it opened up the ability for men all around the world to say, I kind of feel the same way. It's I think as men, we feel this need to like not admit when things are hurting. And I'm a victim of that too. Or I tore my shoulder up pretty bad playing in a pro racquetball tournament a couple years ago, and I kept playing because that's what guys do, right?
We've all done it.
Yeah. But Mike finally said, enough, I can't do it anymore. And we remodeled his home, and I helped, and many other people who are hands-on. He's living in that home today, and he's just doing wonderfully. And that tells me that if you just, get rid of the noise in your life, just take care of what the problem is, you can actually make yourself feel a hell of a lot better.
Well, that's great to hear. And Andy, you've been dropping some great knowledge bombs on us, all day long here. But let me ask you this: for people who are really interested in the more green initiatives, for people, especially those who are in the Wisconsin area, how do they get a hold of you? How do they find you?
All right. Best way to get in touch with me is thegreendesignCenter.com. So thegreendesignCenter.com. And then on there, you can book an appointment. I had to go to appointment consultations several years ago just because of the amount of people that call in. Any given time, I'm probably doing 20 to 30 new home projects around the country, and, countless remodeling projects. And, come on in if there's space, take it. I do all online scheduling. You can also find a lot of the products that we have curated over the years that we know work well with very sensitive people. We do utilize a lot of the green initiative third-party certifications that are out there to help us make our decisions. But quite honestly, what I rely on is my own personal testing. I test every product we sell for formaldehyde outgassing, and I rely on my own clients to come call back and say, yes, this worked for us. And it gives us a little bit more, it gives us that information we need to allow other customers to try it out. And once it's been tried and true by a number of our customers, we'll add it to the website as being one of our curated products.
Fantastic. And you also have a podcast?
Well, I have a podcast. It's called Non-Toxic Environments. Try to do it every week, but lately, because it's our busy season, it's been a little tough. You know how that goes. But now that fall's coming around, we'll be getting into it a lot more, and a lot of good information on the site, on the podcast. It's essentially just me and a co-host, Jay Watts from California. He and I are just rambling for 30 or 45 minutes about, what's on the minds of people who are looking to build or remodel healthy.
Yep, that's fantastic. Well, I really appreciate the time. I appreciate everything that you've been telling us about. I think there's a lot of opportunity out there for remodelers who haven't really gotten into the green space. There's a lot of ability to get into higher level, as you said, higher quality types of projects, and I think that's where obviously that's where the profitability is going to be moving forward. So that's great. If if anyone's looking for more information, check out the link at the bottom of this podcast. It has a link right to Andy's podcast, has a link right to his website. So again, this was it was just great having you on.
Thank you, Michael. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. Well, again, guys, this is Mike Goldstein with Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling Podcast. We're going to be here again next week. Look forward to talking to you and seeing you then. All righty. Bye-bye.